Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Dr. Heather Duniston, and this is the Junk You Should Know show. And for those of you that are new to the show, I always kind of forget that sometimes you're just scrolling by and you're just tuning in. This is a wellness-focused show. We give you all the junk you want to know to boost your wellness aspirations so that you have the foundation to move forward and be successful in all of the things and all the pursuits that you have. And we are every Friday on Facebook at noon PST on the Well Fit and Fed Facebook page. But guess what? We live eternally over on the YouTube channel, Well Fit and Fed. So if you haven't gone over there and just said subscribe, head over to the YouTube. Oh my gosh, I sound like my father. Head over to YouTube and press subscribe and then pop on back, okay? And join us for the show today. Couple of things, as you guys always know who have watched the show before, our sponsor is The Change Cave. And I had a viewer reach out and go, you say all this stuff about The Change Cave, but I still really don't understand what it is. So I wanted to give you a boots on the ground, behind the curtain explanation of what's going on. So right now in the Change Cave, we are doing a module called Healing Fuel. And the modules change every single month. So we do some kind of wellness focus every month and it rotates and they're standalone. So they don't build on each other. Because we're on module 8 doesn't mean you have to go back and do module 1 through 7. It comes around again next year, 1 module a month, 12 total modules. We're also doing a Steptastic challenge. And so that means we are counting steps and challenging each other to move our bodies more every day. And our module this month is called Healing Fuel. And that is one of my favorite topics, is understanding how food can be like an apothecary for your body, that you can fuel your body to maximum potential by selecting and choosing the best foods for you. And so we are going to be talking about herbs, and we're going to be talking about anti-inflammatory diet, and we're going to be talking about healing nutrients and all sorts of great stuff. We've got some great speakers. Anissa Woodall is coming to talk about sugar. Shaylin Romney Garrett is back again talking about it's a great one on goals this time. It's called Whooping Your Goals, and it's I was blown away by it. I'm like a goal junkie. I love, you guys who know me know that. And she taught me some new things in this particular exercise in the module. And so there are just some wonderful, wonderful things to learn this month. And so the Change Cave is $29.99 a month. It is a cancelable, at any time program. And so I'll put the details in the comments below. Make sure to go down and check that and look into the Change Cave. It's for women over 40 who want to inspire, passion, ignite next steps in their wellness aspirations. Okay, so today's topic is called When You Fall, Are You Ready? When you fall, are you ready? Many years ago in my chiropractic practice, I had a young man come in for a particular visit. He'd been a patient of mine for years, but he came in one day and he was bruised and battered, broken wrist, limping. I literally dropped everything, which was probably a patient, and ran toward him and said, Jerry, what happened? And he went on to relay an incredible story. His father had bought for him for graduation an adventure trip to India. They had all sorts of different like motorbike things and different adventures. One of the adventures was a mountain bike day out in the backcountry where it's only locals. So the day starts out amazing. 8 other tourists on their bikes. Off they go. He and his dad and the guide and these other folks riding around, and it was awesome. They had this great lunch and everything was good, but they fell a little behind and they were riding and it started to get a little bit dark, but no problem. The guide handed out headlamps. And so they kept riding, and now it was really dark. And Jerry was behind the guide, and the guide suddenly veered left and Jerry stayed straight. And suddenly all he could hear was air whooshing past his ears and nothing beneath him. You can imagine while young Jerry is telling his tale in front of my patients and staff and lobby full of people, you could hear a pin drop. As that air was rushing past him, he went on to say he thought of one thing, and that was grab something, grab anything. So he started to scramble, his fingers getting cut up by the cliffside, and finally he caught something that could hold his weight. And it was the root of a tree. And he hung there until he found a small foothold below him that he could stand on with one foot. And then it was silent, except for the gravel that was tink, 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 hundreds of feet below as it bounced off the cliff wall. Now, Jerry was breathing fiercely. His heart was almost beating out of his chest, and he knew he had to get control. So he remembered a breathing technique from a yoga class he'd taken, 4-4 breathing. In for 4, out for 4. And he started doing that. And after many, many cycles of that, he started to calm down and assess the situation. And as he was doing that, he realized, I think I can hold on, at least for a while. He'd been training. He plays on soccer, pretty fit guy. So his muscles felt relatively good, even though he'd just literally fallen off a cliff. And suddenly he hears something. It's his name. And he can hear that it's his dad calling him from what feels like 50 feet above. Now, it took 2 professional climbers, 3 medics, and his dad to get Jerry out of there over the next 6 hours. And had they looked at it in daylight, they never would have attempted it. Far too dangerous. So as Jerry stood in my lobby and was relaying this story, he was talking about miracles and new leases on life. I was thinking of something completely different. I was thinking when Jerry fell, he was ready. You know, life is going to throw us all sort of cliff ledges. We have all sorts of things that come at us that we don't anticipate, we don't expect. When we see it, oftentimes we're like, how are we going to get through this? And we have the opportunity to prepare ourselves. Those challenges come in different measures: physical, mental, emotional. And they can show up small or big, but how we show up in that particular situation says everything about how we're going to get through it. So let's talk about physical challenge. It might be as simple as stepping off a curb wrong or jumping back from a curb to get out of the way of a bus, right? These are obvious challenges that if you're not agile and flexible, strong, and have good cognitive reaction time, those things may make the difference between a really bad outcome and a really good but scary outcome, or that you were scared. Other physical things that I surprised myself in that I hadn't thought about this before was a year and a half ago, I ended up nursing my mother for 10 weeks as she fought against cancer for her life and lost. And I had to lift her 170-pound body out of bed onto a commode, back into bed multiple times. And if I hadn't the strength, hadn't the ability to connect with her physically like that, I think I would have missed out on being able to caretake for her in the way that I felt so proud to be able to do. So physical challenges, physical cliffs come in lots of shapes and sizes. So do the mental, emotional ones, right? We have stressors all the time. We have big emotional things, small emotional things that hit us, all different parts of our life. You've probably had some already. Big things that have happened in your life that have been terribly, excruciatingly hard. Kelly McGonigal did a TED Talk once, and it was called How to Make Stress Your Friend. And I clicked on it because I thought, well, that's interesting. And in it, she outlines that science actually tells us that stress is not a bad thing. Stress is actually a good thing. Our bodies need it to produce certain chemicals. It teaches us how to respond in difficult situations, so we're more resilient. It can be a good thing. It's our reaction to it and our response that can be bad or good. And so one of the things she talks about is practicing with the small stuff. And so when we are faced with small emotional mental cliffs in our life, really looking at how we respond and learning from our behavior and try to improve and improve and improve. You know, when warriors go onto the field of battle, there was a whole period of time where they were practicing off the field of play, if you will, off the field of battle. They were trying to best each other with the most difficult moves and practice and prepare themselves for the stressor they were going to encounter on the field. And that's what we can do with the small stressors in our life, with the things that hit us that aren't debilitating, but allow us to go, okay, how can I react and respond, kindly care for myself while supporting the people around me in this situation? How can I do that with more ease, with more generosity, with more love? How can I do that? So when the big stuff hits, then you have a reserve, you have a repertoire, you have a skill set. The other thing I think about when I think of mental emotional is, how are you training? What resources are you leaning into? What are you reading? Are you getting coached? Are you getting counseled? Are there conversations you need to be having that you have not yet, that debilitate you in certain stressful situations? Are there things that you know you struggle with that you haven't dealt with, that if you overcame those, then other things in your life would be so much easier, other precipices, if you will? Trying to get this analogy through this whole thing, so bear with me. And the final thing, so we talked about physical cliff tops, we talked about mental emotional cliff tops, and being ready for those when you do fall, because we will. You already know, you've been through probably tons of different stresses in your life. You know that we are not immune to them as we get older. But the thing that struck me the most that Jerry said that day is, he said, grab something, grab anything. And he reached out for a resource. That tree root saved his life. And I think about when we are in stressful situations, I think of grab anything, grab something as resources and community. And we don't build those in the middle of a stressful situation. We build them in times of peace. My good friend Jenny Butts talks about building in times of peace a lot. And it's really easy when things are good to just kind of go about our day and not think about what we need to be working on personally to grow, what we need to be working on physically to grow, and what we need to be working on mentally, emotionally, and relationally. And so during those times of peace, how are you investing in your training so that when the time comes, you are ready? And so the community, the resources, I think those are a great choice. How are you nurturing your relationships? Commuting in the Blues. Have any of you seen that Blue Zone talk on the TED? You guys know I'm a big fan of TED Talks. If you just TED Talk Blue Zone, I can't remember his name right at this moment, but he talks about the things that lead people to be able to live to over 100. And there were several factors, certain parts of diet, certain kinds of movement, outlook, things like that. But one of the things was community and relationships, and that those actually contributed physiologically to longevity. And it was interesting because I thought, wow, why is that? And it's because we can share our burdens. He refers to a Japanese custom in a small town where when you are born as a woman, you are matched with 8 other women. And you don't necessarily have to be friends going through life, but you are each other's people. And when there are financial troubles, or a child is sick, or a marriage is in trouble, you are there for each other. You are each other's community, come rain or shine. And being able to lean into 1 or 2 or 8 people is incredibly deburdening. I made that word up. I hope you like it. So grab something, grab anything. That's community and resources. We talked about physical readiness, mental, emotional readiness for what life has to throw at you. So when you are writing in your schedule when you're going to work out, when are you doing your stretching, how you're going to feed yourself, I want you to just have this in the back of your mind a little bit. I want you to think about, obviously you're doing it for lots of reasons, but our friend Jerry found out that having been well prepared because he'd done some yoga and he was pretty fit was an incredible asset during those very trialsome times. Is that a word? Trialsome. And so that's my wish for you this weekend, is to kind of think about that. And, you know, I'll leave you with this. I had a trainer once who said, I was whining about a certain exercise, and he says, Heather, do you want to look good on the beach, or do you want to be able to save someone from the waves? And I thought, I want to be able to save someone from the waves. And that means functionally training for life. And that includes physical training, mental training, and emotional training. Okay, guys, I hope you have a great weekend. Remember to share this with others. And remember that I always have a gift for you from the show. And I will put the link for that below or in the description. And so thank you for watching. And I look forward to seeing you next Friday at noon PST. And go be ready for your life. I love y'all. Bye.